Hello everyone. So if you've watched my last video, the audio was a bit off. So I've made some changes in the audio settings. Let me know in the comments if you can hear properly now. I think you can, but well, let's move on. So we'll talk about the display property once again. We've already talked about display blocked and is display inline block, but we haven't talked about display none, flex, and grid. So primarily we'll be talking about display flex in this video, but we'll touch the display none as well. So display block takes the whole line, as I've mentioned previously. Display inline block will just take whatever size is necessary for them. Display none is basically is pretty self-explanatory, so it will display nothing. Let's go ahead and see this in the code. For today we did not generate the boilerplate HTML and CSS. We've done it a few times, and I hope you can do it all by yourself by now. I expect you to be doing this. All right, let's go ahead and add hello world, and let's add a class of hidden, and then we target the class of hidden by dot hidden, the class name, dot hidden, the class name, and then we'll target display property and we'll say none, display none. So let's go ahead and open it with live server, and as you can see, here's nothing. Let's go ahead and comment out the class name here. We've saved it. Now we can see this hello world. Let's inspect it, and in the browser dev tool we can see it is overwritten. Let's go ahead and click display none, and as we can see, it's hidden. So that's pretty much it about display none. Let's go ahead and talk about display flex. So display flex will create a flex box. So as we know, let's rename this to Flexbox to make a better sense, because hidden with display flex doesn't make any sense. So we've talked about this already. Uh, Everything in HTML and CSS is a box. So display flex is Flexbox. All right, so let's learn more about Flexbox. The two axes of Flexbox. The main axis is row. So flex direction, there's a property called flex direction. We can change it, and we will be changing it. Let's make a flex box. Let's not make this a flex box. Let's make a flex box outside of the p tag, and let's move the p tag inside. Let's add the flexbox class here, and let's add a few paragraph. Hello world 2. Let's go ahead and create hello world 3. So as you can see, they're all side by side. Why is it? If I use display block here, each of the paragraphs will be taking one line, and the other one will be moved to the next line. Yes, if I change it to be inline, display inline, okay, it is not working. Why is it not working? Display, okay, I think it is being overwritten by it. Oh, I need to select it here in the p tags, right? Okay, so let's not worry about that. Let's go ahead and add flex as it was. So it is working like inline, so taking just the space needed and then starting the next one, as we've talked about this previously. And we can showcase it as well if we target all the p tags right here, display inline, and let's comment out the flex one. And as you can see, if we've done the inline for each of the p tag, we get all of them side by side, pretty much like the flex box here, but it's a bit different, and I will show you guys how. So display flex, this is now working the main axis as row, so it is showing us horizontally. But if I go ahead and add flex direction to be column, it will be showing in a vertical axis. As you can see, it's showing us in the vertical axis. So the main axis is now changed. The main axis is now changed by flex direction column to be an vertical axis, right? All right, so we've already learned how the axis work. So flex direction, if I make it back to row, it will be side by side in a horizontal axis, and if I change it to be column, it will be showed in a vertical axis. All right, so start and end line, yes, so start will be here and end will be here by default. Let's go ahead and set the justify content. It is start by default, but let's go ahead and set it to be end, or not column, row. As you can see, the whole box, let's inspect it to understand things better. This is the whole box, and now we've added justify content end, but by default it is start. If I untick the end, it goes back to the left side, which is start by default. Let's go ahead and make it just like this. And but if we were to do the same thing for column, so for column, the main axis is now changed. So the justify content is targeting the main axis. As we've mentioned, the main axis by default is for row. By default is flex direction is row, and the main axis by default is row and horizontally. So the justify content will target the main axis. So for row, justify content is now working. But if I were to make this flex direction column, justify content is not working because it is not for main axis now. Now we have to use align items. Align items, and as you can see, it is now working because we've changed the main axis. So we have two axes, main axis and the cross axis. The cross axis is opposite to main axis. So the main axis for row is horizontal, and the cross axis for row is vertical. Let's open up Paint and draw something to make it a bit easier. All right, so for flex direction row, justify content or main axis is horizontal, and the cross axis is vertical or straight line, up and down and left and right. Let's say think like this to make a better sense. So the main axis for row is left and right, and the cross axis is up and down. But when I switch the main axis, not main axis, flex direction to be column, it switches, and the main axis become the horizontal, and the cross axis becomes the, oh, not horizontal, sorry, vertical, and the cross axis becomes the horizontal. I hope it made sense, but if not, just stick with it and it will make sense soon. uh, let's go ahead and the flex container, the flex basis, flex wrap. Yes, let's go ahead and try them. Flex wrap. All right, so what it is doing is, it will not make a new line, but it will wrap the flex items within the same line, I think. Let's go ahead and try that. Let's make it flex row. Let's delete the paint for now, we don't need it. All right, flex wrap is not making an impact here. Let's go ahead and see what it does exactly. The flex wrap CSS property sets whether flex items are forced onto one line or can wrap onto multiple lines. If wrapping is allowed, it set the direction that lines are stacked. Alright, so here we have no wrap and it is overflowing. As you can see, the box is still here and it's still overflowing. If we use wrap, it will just make a new line and align them properly. We already know what overflowing is. So overflowing is when a box, this is the main box, and the contents are overflowing and getting out of the box. We don't want that. So we use flex wrap to wrap things nicely inside our display or the screen. uh, the why it is not working here, because it is still not overflowing. Let's go ahead and set a height of, let's say, 300 pixel, width of, let's say, 300 pixel, and border of 2 pixel solid blue. All right, so let's go ahead and add some more p tags, and as you can see, we are using wrap. Let's go ahead and add no wrap. Still not overflowing for some reason. Let's go ahead and make it plus. Yes, now it's overflowing, as you can see. All right, so our text is now overflowing because we have more content than our height and width. Let's go ahead and set the height to be 100 pixels. All right, so I've actually zoomed in a lot more. That's why I can't understand why is 100 pixels so big. All right, so I'll keep it zoomed in because it will be easier for you to have a look. And as you can see, our flex box is overflowing and the texts are getting out of the box. We don't want that. So what we'll do, we have already used display flex. After using display flex, we can use all the display flex direction, flex wrap, and everything. Let's go ahead and add flex wrap. And as you can see, it's all inside the box. It will not go outside of the box. Let's go ahead and watch it in the mobile. As you can see, it is not going outside of the box because we've used flex wrap. But if we did not use flex wrap, now as you can see, the text will overflow. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about, what were we talking about? Yeah, flex basis. Okay, flex basis auto by default. We can use flex basis 0, flex basis 200 pixels. These are a bit advanced topic. Let's not go into these. Let's just stick to the basics. So the basic is we'll have to set display to be flex, and then we can set the flex direction. By default, when we use display flex, the flex direction is by default row, and when it is row, the flex direction is row. Main axis is horizontal or straight line, like this, left right left right. This is the main axis, and the cross axis for row is up and down when using flex direction row. But when using flex direction column, the main axis is up and down and the cross axis is left and right. All right, so we can also use these two, row reverse or column reverse. It will just reverse the main axis for you, and also the text. Like, let's go ahead and do that. As you can see, hello world 2, hello world 3. Let's make them hello world 4, 5, 6 so we can understand things better. Yes, so hello world 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, let's go ahead and add flex direction row reverse. Let's zoom in a bit. Flex direction row reverse. After saving it, as we can see, okay, so it did start from the right side. It did not reverse the whole thing. I was under the wrong impression, my bad. So flex direction row reverse, if we untick it, it will start from the other side. Basically it will start from the end. Let's have a read to understand things better. Flex direction. Oh, it did reverse everything, but why is it not working in my case? Wait, let me see. Like row but reversed. Yes, as it should be. I thought so as well, but I don't know. Maybe not use flex wrap. Okay, not using flex wrap is not helping. Oh yes, now it's working. So there was something wrong with it. I don't know what it was, but yeah, I guess it was flex wrap. So when I use flex direction row reverse, it reversed it. So as you can see in my HTML, I have hello world first, 2, 3 accordingly. But when I use row reverse, it puts hello world 3 first, hello world 2, then hello world. So it has reversed everything. We can use column reversed as well. Let's go ahead and do that. Column reversed, and as you can see, hello world 3, 2 and 1, but it is doing it in column. So we can use flex direction row, we can use row reverse, we can use column, and we can use column reverse. All right, so that's pretty much the basics of the Flexbox, and there's a lot more to Flexbox, and we'll be talking about Grid as well. But Flexbox is pretty important. I use Flexbox all the time, and we will be talking about Flexbox and Grid a lot when we are doing front end stuff. So it is very important to understand Flex and all the axis stuff, and yeah, it is very important for you and everyone who wants to be a front end developer or want to learn front end HTML CSS. So Flexbox is pretty important. So let's recap what we've learned, and let's open the paint once again to understand things better. So when we are setting flex direction to row, we can not set it as well, because by default it is already flex row. So when it is flex row, the main axis, as you can see, right not there but here, yes, main axis. So when we are using flex direction row, or by default we are using flex direction, the main axis is this left and right, horizontal this thing, horizontal thing is the main axis, and the cross axis is up and down, the vertical axis. This is the cross, and this is main. Okay, so and when we use flex direction column, it just get reversed, where this is the main and this is the cross. Hope you guys are getting it, because it is very important to understand, because when we are using justify stuff, let's say justify content center. So now we are justify content, is it? Let's go ahead and justify content flex, not flex and my bad. Justify content center, yes. So it will make things centered. Is it centered now? I don't think so. Let me have a look. Justify content center. Okay, so when we are using justify content, it will target the main axis. So for we are using flex direction row by default, so the contents will be centered like this. Let's go ahead and remove the height and width. We are not getting the proper results we want. Yes, now as we can see, it is centered. So main axis is targeted by justify content. And align items center, let's go ahead and do that as well. So align item center will target the cross axis, not the main axis. Main axis will be targeted by justify content. For row, the main axis is now horizontal one, because the main axis for row is horizontal. And when we use column, vertical one becomes the main axis, and the main axis is targeted by justify content. So it is putting everything into center now. For column, the main axis is vertical. It is centered vertically now, not horizontally. If we uncomment this, and now it will be centered. Let's go ahead and set a bigger height to make things more visible. As you can see, it is now 1000 pixel, the whole box, the whole flex box. And now by the column, we are targeting the cross axis by justify. No, the main axis by justify, my bad. So what is the main axis of column? The main axis of column is what? Wait. Let me clear things up. It got a bit too big for me to even look at it. All right, so I got a bit mixed up. So for row, the main axis is horizontal, and justify content is targeting the main axis, and it is centered by main axis vertically, horizontally, my bad. So if we were to use align item centers, it will now center vertically as well, because align item is targeting the cross axis. Let's go ahead and make it column. It will stay exactly the same, but if I uncomment justify content center, it will go to the top, because it is not targeting the main axis anymore. Justify content always targets the main axis. For column, the main axis is vertical, up and down. It is not targeting, so it went to start by default. Justify content by default is start. Align items by default is start. So if I comment this out, it will go to start as well. So main axis for column is up and down or vertical. So if I were to target vertical, as you can see, it is centered vertically up and down, and it is centered now. If I comment this out and uncomment this one, so it will target the cross axis or horizontal in this case, and it has centered this text horizontally. All right, so that's about it for basic Flexbox, and sorry about the mess. I messed up a few times. It is a bit confusing, I must admit, because I've been talking about this after a long time. I got a bit messed up as well. It's fine though. I hope you did understand it. If you didn't understand, comment down below. It is very important for you to understand Flexbox properly, because you'll be using Flexbox a lot we will be using Flexbox a lot in future, and you really need to understand it to make better sense of it. All right, thank you very much, guys, and make sure you comment down below how is my audio settings now, and let me know if you didn't understand anything in the comments as well. You can reach out to me in social medias as well. I'll be happy to help you guys learn better. All right, thank you. See you in the next video.